All right, so I got plenty of time, but I don't want to make this long. So basically, I want to talk about how I came to this part three, but I want to talk about how I came to this. I was talking to my little brother this morning, and it just gave me how to be able to explain this, how I've been wanting to explain it. So basically, starting off, Jacobo Grinberg. Okay, so basically, this is what happened when I was in Los Angeles, California. Um, I realized and I noticed I was walking around. I'm like, okay, the blacks don't mess with me on the black side. The Mexicans don't mess with me on the Mexican side, but the blacks treat me better than the Mexicans do. Now, this journey that I've been on has been since the fourth grade. Now, I'm gonna say this. What I realized was it wasn't a race thing. It was never a race thing. Why the Mexicans treated me the way that they treated me and looked at me funny whenever I thought it was a race thing, but I found out that it wasn't. Uh Basically what it was I realized and understood that California had like a lot of people in California they openly worship the beast. You know what I'm saying? And so basically what happened was I ended up coming across this Hispanic this young Hispanic male, and he was on the corner playing his violin. He was setting up his violin. He had a little bucket out there, woo the woo, and he was asking me questions. We was talking. You know what I'm saying? He like, how you get to LA? Woo the woo, and I told him what happened. I told him how I got here, and et cetera, et cetera. And basically, he was like, hey man, I was telling him my story basically. You know what I'm saying? So basically, what I was doing at that time was I was so this what happened. I'm gonna give y'all a quick rundown. My mom passed in 2018. Before my mom passed, you know what I'm saying, she was writing something on her laptop. I didn't know what she was writing, but I took it upon myself to start journaling. You know what I'm saying? Because I felt like whatever she started, I wanted to finish. You know what I'm saying? And so basically I had started like moving around, you know what I'm saying? I ended up leaving Kansas City, Missouri, and I went to go live with my ex in Montana, Missoula, Montana, who was my woman at the time. She was a white woman. But anyway, what happened was when I got out there, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just couldn't fathom the fact that my mom passed. Too young, too early. I always told myself if my mom passed, I was going to go ballistic. You know what I'm saying? On somebody or something. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, what ended up happening was I just couldn't fathom the fact that my mom had passed. You know what I'm saying? So while I'm in Montana, you know what I'm saying? Since I was in the fourth grade, I had always been interested with people, things, and topics such as Hitler, the Unabomber, the DC sniper in the Columbine shootings and stuff like that, because I always felt like, man, people always call these people crazy, but people don't do things for just no reason. People don't just go and do things for no reason. There's got to be a reason. And so I was interested in that. You know what I'm saying? So when I got to Montana, I had started realizing and noticing the racism, you know what I'm saying? Like, of course, you know what I'm saying? So basically what happened is these white people will come up to me and be like, hey, what you doing out here? What brought you out here? When you leaving? You got family here? That. And they didn't give a damn about conversation or none of that shit. They just wanted to know when I was leaving. Because in my mind, in the back of their mind, they was basically thinking like, nigga, I moved up here to get away from you. And you up here now? And so I felt like, you know what I'm saying, that had to do something with guilt. You know what I'm saying? And I related to that because I felt like, you know what I'm saying, I had dealt with my own guilt. Running around in my head, causing all types of trauma and chaos and anxiety and such. You know what I'm saying? But basically, when I was in Montana, I had started asking the question, what is the definition of hatred? You know what I'm saying? Not definition, but what is hatred? You know what I'm saying? And so basically, you know, I felt like by these people dealing with guilt, you know what I'm saying? I felt like it was basically like a number scale. a number line. You got 0, which is neutral. Then you got -1, -2, -3, all the way to infinity. Then you got +1, +2, +3, all the way to infinity. So you got hatred, negative, love, positive on both sides. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I ended up coming up with the name for my documents, which is Hate is a Book with No Last Page. You know what I'm saying? And so basically, by me thinking that these people were dealing with guilt, I felt like they were dealing with guilt of what they of what they did to. I felt like white folks was dealing with guilt from the transatlantic slave trade, and that's why they felt about me how they felt. But in my mind, I was thinking to myself, like, I got plenty white friends, and if you think about it, Hitler killed his own people. He killed other white people. So what's the relation and the correlation between racism, hatred, and the Holocaust? You know what I'm saying? And basically, you know what I'm saying? As far as the Nazi Party, they kill other white people. So what is racism? What is hatred? And then I started. I had to before I left Montana. Excuse me. I had to start asking myself, man, why don't you ask yourself what is love? And I said to myself, before I start asking what is love, I was saying to myself, man, for you to hate me, you ain't no possible way you hate me. Like, for you to hate me, I would have had to do something to you, do something to your mama, do something to your daughter, your wife. That's a reason to hate me. I haven't done anything to you. You don't know me off sight. You know what I'm saying? And then, like I said, growing up, I had dealt with hatred from other blacks. You know what I'm saying? So I felt like racism was one and the same. Racism, colorism, they one and the same on the same scale. You know what I'm saying? So for me to hate you, for you to hate me, I would have had to do something to you. If I never done nothing to you, why do you hate me? You know what I'm saying? And so, like I was saying, when it came down to it, like, if you was blind, you wouldn't know to hate me. You know what I'm saying? So I asked myself, okay, I'll ask myself, what is love? These interracial relationships, man, these people, where are these interracial relationships coming from? Do these people know each other? How long have they been knowing each other? Do you have any history together? Where did y'all meet? Why are y'all attracted to each other? Or is it the idea that you white and I'm black, let's get together and make mocha babies? You know what I'm saying? And so I felt like in my mind, like a lot of these interracial relationships are fake, bro. But then I was seeing white men with white women and white women with white men with white kids, and in my mind, that makes me think, well, you won't date nobody unless they white. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna date nobody unless they white. You know what I'm saying? And so, anyway, I start asking myself, like, what is love, right? Well, love is blind. It's got to be blind. You know what I'm saying? It's got to be blind because, you know what I'm saying, for me to see you, and now we go into the psychology part of it, which is called theory of mind. You know what I'm saying? I was reading a book. I forget the name of this book. I was reading a book called, I forget, but it was talking about Asperger's or whatever. And basically, it was talking about theory of mind. You feel me? And theory of mind is basically like when you see something on first glance, your mind goes through a whole, like if you see an attractive woman, you're going to automatically associate her with positive traits. If you see an unattractive woman, you're going to associate her with negative traits. But the thing is, you don't know this person. When you see this person, they attractive, but you don't know that this person knows English. You don't know that this person knows basic math. You don't know this person at all. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, what is love? Well, love is blind. Okay. Well, how do blind people fall in love? Well, they feel their way around the conscience for lies, defects, etc., etc. They feel their way around the conscience. That's how they fall in love. You know what I'm saying? Well, and I ain't gonna lie. Okay, so, well then let's talk about color. White, black, Asian, out of the. How do you describe the color blue to a blind man? Let's just take the color blue. How do you describe the color blue to a blind man? To describe any color, you got to be able to describe light. I learned that in the 5th grade when Miss Waxman was like, turn to page 78 in your science books. and showed us the electromagnetic spectrum. That was how I came up with that answer. I'm sitting up here thinking for about 10 minutes. How do you describe the color blue? To be able to describe any color, you got to be able to describe light, because light is a spectrum. Then I come across the electromagnetic spectrum. This is when I get to talking about, this is when I get to researching, you know what I'm saying, waves, different wavelengths. You know what I'm saying? And I'm finding out that every color has a frequency. On this electromagnetic spectrum, there's light waves, color waves, radio waves, gamma waves, X-rays, microwaves. You know what I'm saying? And all these waves are a part of this spectrum. You can go and look up a word, it's called conjugation. Anyway, I don't know why this motherfucker lagging so hard. But anyway, so while I'm researching this electromagnetic spectrum, I'm finding out that there's a device out there, bro, that they use when they go into haunted houses to find ghosts. And it uses the electromagnetic spectrum. I forget what the device is called, but anyway, this is when I ended up getting into Wi-Fi. You know what I'm saying? Bluetooth. I had a job up in Seattle for truck driving for Swift. I was sitting in the day room while I was waiting on my interview, and it was crazy. It just blew me away, man. This yeah, I guess it must have been the National Geographic or History Channel or something like that. But I seen this ball sitting on the ground emitting these waves. They had put waves onto the, you know what I'm saying? It was emitting these waves. This guy had a remote controller. He was messing with the remote controller, and the remote controller was connected to this little ball emitting these waves, unlocking the doors to these luxury cars that these Russians were selling overseas. I said, wait a minute, I want to know how to do that shit. Because I always wanted to connect my Xbox controller to, I don't know, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And that was when I started getting into hacking. After that, that was when I started reading these books on code. You know what I'm saying? I started trying to learn code. Man, I was so interested in this stuff. I was reading 15 chapter books in 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? And I had hit like 3-4 learning curves. At this time, I had already known a little bit of Russian. I had an ex-girlfriend, you know what I'm saying, who was from Russia. She taught me basic vocabulary, and by myself, I had just built on top of that after we was done dating. Anyway, I started realizing that language is in everything. You know what I'm saying? And anyway, when I had met this guy in LA on the corner, I was basically telling him that in my writings, what I do is I travel. You know what I'm saying? And what I do is I document my experiences, because I feel like nobody would believe me if I had just told them. You know what I'm saying? So I write time, date, and event. You know what I'm saying? And I got a compilation of papers. I got about 300-page paper. And I named it Hate is a Book with No Last Page. Because everywhere I go, I get into these fucking battles of racism, bro, and discrimination and bias and all of that. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, my whole mission, my whole goal with this was to be able to connect the physical realm to the spirit realm. You know what I'm saying? And you know, that was basically my goal, I guess. You know what I'm saying? When I met this dude in LA, he was telling me, he was like, yeah, man, that's pretty interesting, man. You know, you ought to check out this guy, Jacobo Grinberg. Now, before I go on, I'm gonna tell you, when I first moved to Montana, okay, so my mom passed from breast cancer. it's a long story, but anyway, long story short, I have been trying to like naturally heal her. I didn't want her to go to the doctor. I just didn't trust the doctor. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I felt like her diet had everything to do with it. But I will say this. One thing that I did learn was not only diet, but love, time, compassion. You know what I'm saying? Concern, emotional intellect has to do with a person's survival through these times, what I believe, along with their diet. But anyway, and that's funny, yeah. So basically, so when my mom passed and I had moved to Montana, you know what I'm saying? Prior to me moving, prior to me going there, I had told myself, I said, it's got to be more than just money that my mom left me before she passed. So I get to looking through the house, upstairs, downstairs, basement. By the way, this mark on my hand, which is shaped in the shape of a heart, was while I was boiling hot water for my mom, and I was putting it under the sink to put more water in it, and the water splashed up and spilt on my hand, bro, and shaped the form of a heart. Uh, basically, I had searched the house, upstairs, downstairs, basement, upstairs, downstairs, basement. My mom was an English teacher. When I got to the basement was riddled with books. I'm talking about books everywhere. There was one book in particular that I had read, I want to say like a year earlier, once, and put it down. You know what I'm saying? It was the name of a song by Jay-Z called The Desire of Ages by Ellen G. White. I had grown up going to church on the Sabbath on Saturday, basically my whole life. Ellen G. White is a prophet of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. She wrote a book called Desire of Ages. When I opened this book, it was like I was reading my life. I felt like, you know what I'm saying, like after that, what my mom had left me was knowledge and intellect, you know what I'm saying? And so when I left to go live in Montana, I felt like plants, bro. Plants was the reason. Plants was the cure. You know what I'm saying? When I got to Montana, I had like I think I want to say it was like my third day in Montana. I was at the library. I came across a paperback book for $3 called The Anthology of Underground Cures. In there was cancer. You know what I'm saying? I come across psilocybin mushroom. Psilocybin mushrooms. It didn't have psilocybin mushrooms in the book, but basically, like in my research, you know what I'm saying, I found that there had been a study done by the Johns Hopkins University. You know what I'm saying, with psilocybin mushrooms and cancer. But a couple of the cures that I have found were a mushroom that grows in Asia and a mushroom that grows in Mexico that's used for cancer. And so I had always wanted to do mushrooms, and you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, this is when I had my first mushroom trip. I ended up finding a guy haphazardly. This guy gave me some mushrooms, man. That was my first experience with mushrooms. One of the plants that I found in this book was Convolvulus arvensis. They strangle tumors. Convolvulus arvensis grow rampant. They grow right in our face, and we walk past them every single day. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? So I have been researching plants for a minute. Currently, I'm digging into phytochemistry, or the chemical makeups of particular plants that cause plants to be either medicinal or drugs. You know what I'm saying? Um, it's been blowing my mind, bro. But anyway, while I'm talking to this guy in LA, you know what I'm saying? He's like, man, that sounds interesting, man. It sounds like this one guy, this doctor from Mexico that you ought to look him up. His name is Jacobo Grinberg. Jacobo Grinberg. When I left LA, right? Man, so many things. I learned so many things in LA, boy. I was out there for a year, 6 months on, 3 months in hometown, and then I went back for another 6 months. And then after I left, I was in the Bay Area for like 2 months. I learned so much in Cali. But anyway, yeah, man, hold on real quick. So anyway, hopefully the lagging caught up with, but basically, yeah, man. So basically, don't mind that picture behind me. I gotta take that down. But anyway, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, man, when I met this dude, he was telling me about this doctor from Mexico. His name is Jacobo Grinberg. I just can't. I gotta pronounce it Jacobo. Jacobo. Jacobo Grinberg. For some reason, I pronounce it like that. But yeah, man, this dude was basically he was on the same path. You know what I'm saying? I feel like what I feel like. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm on a different path though. Like I just couldn't fathom the fact of my mom passing, man. I just couldn't fathom it. I think more so I didn't want to accept it. I didn't want to accept it. And so in my mind, I was trying to prove the physical existence of God, which is impossible, bro. I ain't gonna say it's impossible. Well, yeah, I'm gonna say it's impossible because it has to do with faith. You know what I'm saying? It has to do with faith. Anyway, this video is about to be 30 minutes long. I don't want it to get that far. I don't even want it to be 25. But it's a lot that I didn't even touch on. But basically, I just wanted to, I've been wanting to say these things for a long time, especially on video, on camera, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, as of now, you know what I'm saying, me working on this book, Hate is a Book with No Last Page, I decided to turn it into a script for a short film that I want to produce. And I don't even know where to start. Maybe I'll make a GoFundMe. You know what I'm saying? Man, I don't want this video to be too long, but I appreciate y'all listening. And to be honest with you, if you could do anything for me to help me in any type of way, I basically just ask that you pray for me. You know what I'm saying? But thank you for listening.